recalls, log on to our website, WFSB.com, and click on 3 on your side. I received an email last month from a viewer who had a rather frustrating experience at a veterinary hospital. Her dog had been run over by a car and was critically injured. Now, she told me they took x-rays and got him on medication to ease the pain, but then demanded a payment of $2,100 before they would start treating the dog. She went on to say, I informed the vet I did not have that type of money right now, but if they could start treatment, I would pay them anything that was needed. But that vet refused, and she had to take her dog elsewhere. Now, was it reasonable for that vet to decline to treat a critically injured dog without payment up front? Well, tonight I'm going to ask about that. I'm going to ask the head of the State Veterinary Medical Association, Dr. Arnold Goldman, here to explain why this sort of thing could have happened. Most people think, well, you go to a hospital, the hospital has to treat you and worry about getting the money later.
Well, that's right. In human medicine, we're used to relying on health insurance. And for the most part, health insurance has not been taken advantage of by pet owners. And so it's always a tragedy when an animal comes into an animal hospital with, an emergent situation. Sure. And it only compounds the situation when the owner has limited financial means. Certainly it sounds like, and I am not familiar with this particular situation in detail, but it sounds like communication wasn't very good during the course of that incident. And certainly pain relief and basic life-saving care ought to be provided while that sort of communication about financing and dealing with the long-term consequences of those injuries are addressed.
No, I spoke on the phone with both the consumer and the veterinary center involved and got their perspective on what was going on. And I can understand, a lot of people don't get pet insurance because it's another expense, and in these tough times, it's hard to deal with. But I think most people, are thinking, well, wait a minute now, this is a veterinarian. He's trained, or she's trained to save animals' lives, and why would a vet let an animal die or run the risk that it would die in transport to another facility?
Well, I can't speculate on that particular situation, again, without reviewing the medical record and really talking to all the parties involved. But I can say this. Certainly we want to provide pain relief and initial care for an animal while that the long-term consequences of the situation are communicated. And, in a situation like that, it sounds like the communication wasn't ideal, such that the owner knew what he or she was facing. We focus a lot in veterinary medicine on prevention, preventive care, immunizations, frequent examinations, and use of a leash to prevent, unwanted catastrophic situations like that.
Well, now, in this case, I also understand that there was some sort of an extended payment plan that was offered, a 3-month plan. But even that, while it was, an important gesture, would have left this person in equal payments paying $700 at a time. And so what is a person of limited means to expect with a pet? I guess they just have to run the risk that if the animal is hurt, the animal won't be able to be cared for at a veterinary center?
Well, we don't want that to happen. I mean, all veterinarians got into veterinary medicine because they care about animals. None of us wants to see an animal denied the basic care that it needs. And in that vein, we have several options. Of course, the best option is if someone has their own credit card or way of financing it. But short of that, you mentioned this payment program. It's called Care Credit, and it's a health care credit card, which if paid off within 3 months, there's no interest on it. But you do have the option of extending it out even further and reducing those $700 payments to perhaps $100 or any other amount that you can reasonably pay. And then there are many companies today, in our state particularly, there's 3 or 4 providing pet health insurance. But of course, you must have chosen that in advance. Yeah, sure. It's not ideal.
It's like a lot of things, you don't think about it until you need it.
Right. And in the Veterinary Medical Association and Foundation, which I am currently the president of, we are trying to establish a fund that veterinarians can apply to get some additional money to help out people in need like that.
And might you have clinics that people could come to with their pets who have injuries or illnesses, and they can get free care, much like the State Dental Association does for humans? Every year they have this Mission of Mercy.
Well, the Veterinary Medical Foundation doesn't, we're not at the point where we are actually running our own physical facility. There are low-cost facilities in the state. For example, example, the Connecticut Humane Society operates the Fox Memorial Clinic. It's a not-for-profit animal hospital that does provide certain higher level of care as necessary. But what our plan is to raise funds and then be able to compensate the veterinarians who do the work on care for animals whose owners don't have the funds, and so that we can avoid these situations, because no one wants to see an animal go without the care it needs. Certainly on the acute level, you do want to provide pain relief and life-saving care.
Well, Dr. Arnold Goldman, I appreciate you coming in, Executive Director of the Connecticut Veterinary Medical Association, and explaining all these things to us, and I think we have a better understanding now.
Thank you, Al.
Thank you very much.